Preseason football is back. Let's go. Everyone in the fantasy community is over in Canton, Ohio right now having a wonderful time, taking in football, taking in friendship, taking in community. I am jealous, but I'm still here. And we got a trade show to talk about. So good morning. Get your coffee in ya. Let's go. Yes, welcome in. My name is Ty at TyDeclare44. You can reach me over on X at TyDeclare44. And this is another episode of the Destination Debbie Trade Show. We're here. It's another one. This week I'm rolling solo. Yeah, it's not because everyone's in Canton, Ohio. That's just it's okay. I just want to talk with you one-on-one. We're going to talk through some deals, break down the why. There's definitely some new camp news that's going to affect at least one of these deals, so got to keep your eyes on the news. But if you want to keep up to date on everything happening in Dynasty Fantasy Football, Destination Debbie is the place to be. Head over to patreon.com/ALLGAS. Get in the Patreon, destinationdebbie.com. Keep your eyes on the prize with the website. All article, tools, podcasts, everything happening over there. There's some really cool partnerships and things happening over the next couple days here probably, so keep your eyes peeled. But for right now, we're going to talk about some trades. Let's hop in. All right. So first deal, Sean kills crew. 12 teams, start 10, Superflex, PPR, no tight end premium. He receives David Njoku, Jamar Chase, a 26 first and a 25 third. Sent away Sam Darnold, Brandon Aiyuk, Michael Pittman, Antonio Gibson, Brock Bowers, and a 2025 second. So, I mean, that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for 4 with Jamar Chase on the other side. So it's a pretty busy deal. We're going to have to break some things down here. First thing that's kind of popping out to me is it's not a tight end premium, right? So the Njoku and the Bowers, they're both positional difference makers. And in 2024, it's a health bet, but they're probably going to all have probably around the same amount of yardage. They're probably going to produce similarly and be an elite tight end outcome kind of guy for you. I definitely want Bowers in Dynasty. I think the value is probably more than a third, but the non-tight end premium, Njoku and a third for Bowers. I feel like there's going to be people on both sides of that one, but I'll lean Bowers for the youth and for the upside and just for the sexiness of that side of it. So that leaves us with Jamar Chase in a first for Darnold, Aiyuk, Pittman, and Gibson. I mean, Brandon Aiyuk and Michael Pittman. I don't think that gets you Chase in a 12 by 10, right? PPR, I don't think that gets you there. And Sam Darnold, he will be a starting quarterback, which is cool. But as I'm looking at this, Sam Darnold, Antonio Gibson, that's not going to equal a first for me, even a late one. So if you already have Aiyuk and Pittman not equaling Chase, it's going to be the Chase side of it. Again, getting Bowers, getting a second, getting Pittman, Aiyuk, Sam Darnold, and Antonio Gibson, those are great pieces to have. But in the start 10, those better be all in your lineup. Or at least have a specific plan on how you're going to maximize those. I'm not making this trade for Aiyuk and Pittman to be my wide receiver 5 and 6. I'm not making this trade to have Sam Darnold be my quarterback 4 going into the season and giving up Chase a first and Njoku and a third to do so. Right? I guess we didn't really go over the second in the deal here, but again, I don't think that second really makes up everything. I mean, it's just not there for me. It's a lot of stuff, but in a 12 by 10, typically I want to consolidate, right? Njoku, Chase, 2 great pieces to consolidate into. You get a liquid first in 2026. We don't know whose it is because of this new sleeper thing where they block out the names. Stop blocking out the names. Come on, people. Let's go. But yeah, if I'm looking here, I get it if you're going to maximize that side of it, but just give me Chase and Njoku in the start 10. Bowers, a second, Pittman, Aiyuk. You can definitely do a lot with that side. And if I'm getting that side, that's my plan, is I've split some assets, and now I have to take a couple more moves to break it down some more. Maybe let's try to break it down a different way, see if we feel any differently. So the 26 first, a 26 first for Brandon Aiyuk. people are probably tilted and polarized on Brandon Aiyuk right now with all of these moves. He's been traded but not, and maybe re-signed but not for about 3 weeks, or I guess an entire offseason at this point. And I know there's some people that just want out. So I mean, at 26 first for Brandon Aiyuk, that feels about right. I think Michael Pittman kind of falls in that similar range. It's a wide receiver that like you probably would spend a first for, but you really don't, because I guess for Pittman at least, he's kind of like the ultimate innings eater, right? I don't think he's going to give you that elite upside, but you can pretty much damn guarantee what he's going to give you week over week. Brandon Aiyuk still has that spiciness, especially in the San Francisco offense. That's my fear. So if he goes anywhere else, I think it's going to be a worse fantasy situation for him. Like the offense, the situation, how he's used, how his skill set fits. Like there's more to this than just X's and O's and how players fit on rosters. So I get it. Anyways, one of those receivers you'd probably trade for a 26 first. Okay. 25 third for Sam Darnold. Yeah, how many times does he have to start for that to pay off? Once or twice tops, right? So that's fine. I would make that bet on a team that I need a quarterback. But again, I'm making that move of Sam Darnold. I'm plugging in my lineup early season. Otherwise, I can wait till I need that before I'm sending that kind of a deal. And then you have, Antonio Gibson, Brock Bowers, and the second for David Njoku and Jamar Chase. And then one of those receivers. Okay, so Brock Bowers, and we'll say we did the 26 first for Michael Pittman. We'll say that's what happened. Brandon Aiyuk and Brock Bowers. Does that get you Jamar Chase? Probably not. So Brandon Aiyuk, Brock Bowers in a second, that should. I think that should be enough to go through. But it's just the bet on positional difference makers versus the wide receiver one. Or an elite and a wide receiver one, whatever you want to order them between Jefferson, Chase, whatever. And then you're left with what? Njoku for Antonio Gibson? Yeah, I'll take Njoku. So broke it down two different ways. I do think that the Chase side of the deal is winning here. And now let's look at what the team looks like and see how it fits. Hurts, Stroud, Watson. Yeah, so send away the Darnold. CMC, Warren, Montgomery. You don't need the Gibson, but he is a great any running back on a 53 type option. CD, Chase, Olave, Flowers, Godwin, D-Hop. Yeah, so before you had CD, Aiyuk, Pittman, Olave, Flowers, Godwin, D-Hop. So not only did you have a lot of just kind of flat tier, probably going to be the same thing, probably going to cause you some headaches week over week, you've gotten out of that, gotten into a Chase, all the while your DeAndre Hopkins gets hurt. So consolidating into something that's reliable and something that is game-changing, probably a good move. And then Njoku and Fant. You still have two tight ends. You're constructed well. You still stay in that elite range, but you sold off some of that hopium to move into the threshold, or not threshold, like the cornerstone piece of Jamar Chase. So I like the Njoku side of this one, but it's a good deal if this side does stuff with this stuff. Like if they're able to turn Aiyuk, Pittman, and Bowers into, four first combined somehow, more or less trying to leverage the Bowers, but at a non-tight end premium, I don't think you're going to find those kind of deals. You're probably looking at 3 firsts and then Antonio the second and Darnold. It just feels like you're chasing your tail because you gave up your first as well to end the chase. Like you gave up too much to make that make sense for me. So I like the Chase side. Let's move on. Dynasty Alex, let's go. Always brings the good settings. 12-team PPR, super flex, best ball. We can work on the order though, Alex. So 12-team start 11, super flex, PPR. I never know where to put best ball though, so I feel you. It is a best ball league. It's a 1-2-5 tight end premium. It's a 6-point passing touchdown and a 1-5 point per carry. So scoring more or less boosted across the board. It's a shallow-ish best ball league. It's not shallow, but for best ball, it's kind of shallow. The tight end scoring is okay. It's not enough to really knock your socks off. Neither is the point per carry, but it'll matter in the margins. There's a couple of super teams in the league that they can't compete with, so they just want to cash out on some peak value players while they can, roll over some of that value, see what they can do. Okay, so first deal. Plant Crew gets JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, AD Mitchell, and a 2026 first. They send away that man, Brandon Aiyuk. They also send away J-Mo, Jamal Williams, and a 2025 third. So 26 first, JSN, AD Mitchell for Aiyuk, J-Mo, and a third. 12-team, start 11, Superflex, best ball. Yeah. Again, we're going to talk about Aiyuk in a first. People want to get out on Aiyuk. Like Lanker said, I'm going to try and just cash out on some max value players that are in the news, players that are getting buzzed, move into something else. So Brandon Aiyuk for the 26th first. Again, I'll lean Aiyuk just for the heck of it. But if you're telling me it's, we'll come back to that. So, and then J-Mo in a third. I mean, AD Mitchell and JSN. Yeah, I definitely want the JSN, AD Mitchell side of that. So let's break it down another way. JSN and Brandon Aiyuk. People are going to want Aiyuk, but I know that's been a question. I think Shane says put out the old poll out on X. So we'll give the edge to Aiyuk. I don't know if you're getting JSN and AD Mitchell for Aiyuk, but even if that's the case, like a 26 first well eclipses J-Mo in a third and whatever else is left over from Aiyuk. So first deal Plant Crew, I think it's pretty easy. JSN, AD Mitchell in first. Again, not even talk about AD Mitchell, how Josh Downs went down. So AD Mitchell's role, or at least his perceived role in the community, could grow. So I think that's a good piece to get into, especially if you're going to make multiple moves. And lo and behold, he also got into Josh Downs. So again, he's sending away players because he sees two super teams in his league. He's like, I'm not trying to compete here. Let's just roll some value. Let's see if we can find the valleys or those values that are sure to rebound. Josh Downs is definitely one of those. In 4 weeks, he's probably going to be running routes again and just be Josh Downs like he thought he would be. So Plant Crew gets Josh Downs and another 2026 first. He's stacking them now in a single class. Gives away Kyren Williams and Taysom Hill. I don't know if it's ever really talked about, but I mean, Taysom Hill is a damn hack in best ball. He's got the tight end quarterback split. People who play on Sleeper understand that, but in best ball, where you don't have to set it and he can enter into two different positions, like it's just a hack, especially in these point per carry boosted scoring kind of leagues. Like Taysom Hill is definitely worth, I'll say at least a third, and I bet you can find him on waivers in some leagues. Taysom Hill and Josh Downs, I mean, I'm probably still going to lean Downs, but the way that I like to best ball, I like to build around the tight end position in a certain range. Taysom Hill doesn't fall in that range, but Taysom Hill is definitely the Swiss Army knife that I want on my best ball roster. So if you told me a competing roster, just they had their flush at wide receiver and they just need tight end help and they want the Swiss Army knife, okay, fine. 2026 first for Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams is probably going to outproduce that 2026 first, but there's only certain running backs that you wouldn't trade a first for. The fact that it's 26 probably makes this lean more into Kyren's favor. But again, I'm just going to take the Josh Downs of it all. I don't mind Josh Downs. I don't mind Kyren at all. I like Kyren. I want to buy into Kyren, but I don't want to do that at the cost of a liquid first. It's just not how I want to play there. So again, in a best ball league, you're sending away the points, the win now stuff. Hill and Kyren, get into Josh Downs in a first for what you're doing. Yeah, I love that, Alex. So good work there. I'd pull this up, but yeah, it's tiny as hell. So never mind. We're not going to do through all that, but two good deals. Keep pivoting, see, assess your league, know the landscape, know your league mates, make some moves. I like it. John, got a 12 by 12 at 12 team, start 12 Superflex PPR, 2 tight ends. So start 2 tight end with a 1.5 tight end premium, a 0.25 point per carry, and it is, again, best ball. So a juicier point per carry, a 0.25 definitely matters. Every 4 carries, you get a whole point, right? The elite rushing quarterbacks, the elite volume getting running backs, they definitely matter more. 1.5 tight end premium, but the start 2. So that's enough to really, to start to tilt the favor into tight end. It's not the 2 tight ends, 2.0 tight end premium where it's just overwhelmingly so, but it's definitely getting there and you can't ignore it. Especially in best ball, you want to construct well. So the first trade, they traded for Muth and Benson with the Komet trade already lined up. Then they swung the Cooks deal. Okay, so there's 3 deals here. they had one set up when they did the other. So let's go through these. So first deal, it's a little small. John got Pat Freiermuth and Trey Benson, and they sent away Zach Ertz, Tyler Lockett, Jalen Tolbert, a 25 second, and a 25 third. So a 2 for 5 and a 12 by 12 best ball. So again, start 11, it's a little shallow. Start 12, you're getting more deep at that point. 2 tight ends. So you do want to definitely value the tight ends, but even in those formats, I never want to overvalue mid. Usually how it breaks down, it just makes me more and more comfortable with having those guys on my roster and relying on them more in the flex, especially in best ball. If I can just start to knock off how many wide receiver bodies and how many running back bodies I need because I'm built efficiently at tight end, I feel great about that. But a guy like Freiermuth, it's not in the range that I'm typically attacking. And I mean, we're on the heels of, probably if Ricky's right, which I mean, I trust Ricky, right? If Aiyuk goes to the Steelers, what does that mean for that entire offense and the target share? An offense that we were already concerned of how many receiving options are going to be supported at the end of the day. So again, it's not really the tight end that I'm trying to buy into, but he still can fit a roster construction piece. Trey Benson, truly don't know because it's going to depend on what his role is come week 1. If something happens to Connor and he's the starter, awesome, right? But chances are he's going to be more of a later in the season and onwards play. He's definitely the youth bet. He's a nice, probably running back handcuff to have for sure. In best ball, we have to be mindful of zeros. And there's just so many ways that you can approach it that I don't want to send away value to hold on to the pretty asset that when they get the chance, they're probably going to be good. Because he sent away Zach Ertz, Tyler Lockett, Jalen Tolbert, a 25 second and a 25 third. Lockett, definitely a useful piece to have in best ball, especially if you're constructed well. Like taking on guys like Lockett, it's not as scary when you have enough guys where if someone does go down, like, okay, I'm constructed well, it's just going to be churn it and then figure out with more volume. Zach Ertz, probably going to be the starting tight end to start the year, probably just going to be Zach Ertz until he's not, right? So we all like Ben Sennett, but TBD on when Zach Ertz gives up the reins. Jalen Tolbert, okay, who cares, right? Like it's a flat range wide receiver in best ball. It's just eat enough of them. You pray that you get 1 or 2 weeks from them. But the second and the third, those are liquid pieces, right? So if you're in a rebuild in a best ball league and you're trying to get on Benson and Freiermuth, okay, but you wouldn't be sending the second and third to do that. So by you sending the second and third, it tells me that you're more so in like a competing mode. But the reason I thought you might be in the rebuild because you're sending away like an Ertz, a Lockett, it's just you're kind of sending away the liquidity and the production to get into 2 kind of hopeful assets. In best ball, that's not really how I want to approach it. And I mean, getting a 5 for 2, it's in best ball. It matters. It really does. Those thirds are not throwaways. The seconds certainly aren't. Those buy players and starts, and they're just valuable. So I'm going to take the 5 for 2. I'm going to take the Ertz, the Lockett, the Tolbert, the second and third, how I play best ball. I could be wrong on this. Freiermuth could have that top 8 tight end season, be a difference maker at the position. Benson can get volume early and often and be great for your team. It's just, and you didn't trade away any like earth shaking or earth moving assets and assets that could evaporate tomorrow in Ertz, Lockett, hell, and Tolbert. But I'm just going to bet that's not going to happen, and you get a second and a third to figure it out. I'll just take the 5 for the extra side there. But when you did that deal, you had another deal lined up. So this other deal, you got that Swiss Army knife. Yes, Taysom Hill and Josh Palmer and a 25 second. And you sent away Cole Kmet, Andre Yoshivas, and Demarcus Robinson. So again, a bit of a theme. It looks like we're sending away those kind of like best ball dart wide receivers. We're trying to get into, like we sent away Kmet, we got into Freiermuth, so you probably take your pick, but I'm going to just cross those guys off more or less. But I like getting Taysom Hill in best ball for sure. I feel like Taysom Hill and like your DeMarcus Robinsons or your Yoshi bosses, it probably plays the same on your roster, but at tight end, it's more of a scarce position. So I'll give the edge to Taysom there. But I like Yoshi Voss, especially with Charlie Jones going down. What, tearing his ACL, was it? I mean, Yoshi Voss is just going to step into that role in that offense that we hope that he can have a couple weeks and just be someone who will pop in your lineup. Demarcus Robinson has been, I guess, like what we think is going to be the wide receiver 3, but he also could be nothing. So who knows, TBD, but it seems like Demarcus Robinson should have that wide receiver 3 role in LA, and he's one of the best blocking wide receivers in the league. So I don't have doubts about him being able to get snaps and staying on the field. You get into Palmer, and you get a second. So I like that. I like getting Hill from one of those wide receivers. I definitely want Palmer over Yoshi Voss. Like, that's not even close. And, like, again, it's a start 2 tight end, a 1.5 premium, so you got to give some respect to Kmet there. And again, it's just not the range of tight end I'm trying to really trade into. So Palmer in a second or Kmet and Yoshi Voss, I'm taking Palmer in the second. So I like this deal a lot for you. And I get, like, why doing this makes you more comfortable doing this, because you got Palmer, you got a second back, so you're basically just swapping seconds, so you feel like you're not really losing anything there. You're getting off of Ertz, but get into Hill. You're getting off of Kmet, but get into Freiermuth. You get into Benson and Palmer. Just feels like it could have probably been a lot easier or more straightforward to get to where you wanted to go there, but you got it done. You got 2 deals done in synchronicity, so hey, that has some inherent value in it. But I mean, this one, come on. Ricky Pearsall on a first for James Cook, come on. There's only certain running backs you're going to get a first for, and you're going to want to send a first for. James Cook is not that for me. And you're getting Ricky Pearsall and a first. Come on, this smash. I don't have any soundboards where I go beer, 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 beer. Like, that is a smash. Like, that is, where is it here? That is a Shane smash. We'll pull this up though. Shane smash from Conja. Yeah, that is disgusting. So you stuck the landing. Probably could have just made it a little easier there on this deal, but I like it. I like it. Well, Dogtown, Scott Connor thought you smashed here. We don't have the settings, but like I said, Jalen Polk and a 25 first, or George Pickens a second and a 26 third. Yeah, so again, would you trade a 25 first for George Pickens? Call it random, call it late, call it what you want. Would you do that? Tell me in the comments. Is George Pickens a guy that you would send a first for? Because he's the kind of bets people are making right now. And if you're like me and just think, there's only certain wide receivers I really want to do that for, and it's usually those guys that I would add to the first to get high. Get higher on the wide receiver ladder. Those are the kind of guys that I would like to use that first for. I don't really just want to just buy a George Pickens like that, right? And you're getting Jalen Polk, who I'm not going to say he's the same thing as Pickens, because Pickens has big game appeal. He has like his sex appeal to his game. He makes big plays. People love him, and he looks like an alpha wide receiver. People like that. Jalen Polk, people haven't seen him yet. He could be good. He could be nothing. He could be another wide receiver in the New England offense who is just part of a difficult system, which is probably the way it's going to go. But you get a second and a third. So even if you cross off the first and Pickens, I mean, you're just betting Polk is going to outproduce a second and a third. I can see it from one way or the other, but if we're looking at the news and we're prognosticating ahead, if Aiyuk goes to the Steelers, the Polk in a first side's an absolute smash. Absolute smash. Again, George Pickens, you hope that his target share increases. And the reason his ADP crept up this offseason is because people are projecting him to have all the volume. Because Deontay's gone. What happens if Aiyuk shows up? An offense that we already don't know if it's going to be Russ or Fields or who. It's just not the offense that I want to bet on. And again, I like Pickens, and I bet that you can get at least a first worth of value in a trade for Pickens in the right leagues, but just give me the first. And then I'll take Polk and stick him right in where I had Pickens in the lineup and probably get 90% of it, but just bet that I'm not going to have the same spike weeks that Pickens can give. So yeah, give me Polk in a first. I don't know the settings or anything like that, but yeah, let's do that. Okay, that skin. We got a 12 by 10, 2 quarterback PPR, tight end premium start 2 tight end. So wide receiver was their wide receiver 6 pre-draft. They added more wide receiver depth with Neighbors at 107 and Leggett at 301. Interesting. So does your league value wide receiver? So, I mean, again, 2 quarterback, start 2 tight end with a tight end premium. So I'm assuming the 4 quarterbacks, Marv, Bowers, and then Neighbors. So that makes sense. But Leggett 301, that's interesting. So you sent away Dell. I'm assuming you sent away Dell after you got Leggett at 301, and then you got into 3-2 and 3-3, who are the next 2 picks. So you sent away Dell. You got Blake Corum, Theo Johnson, and a 25-second. In a 12 by 10, 2 QB, PPR, tight end, premium, start 2 tight end. Yeah. I mean, I feel like Blake Corum probably should be up like in the 2nd round. I haven't had a rookie draft for a hot minute, so, excuse my ignorance when it comes to current ADP for rookie drafts, but I feel like Corum's probably more of your 2nd guy. So if you look for Corum and a 2nd, and you have Theo Johnson tacked on there, okay. Having Dell as your wide receiver 6, yeah. So you're looking for the guy that you can move, and you're trying to find ways to move it into liquidity. Again, do I think you can get a first for Dell? Not right now. No. But this image in the back of my head has me think, like, what if Dell comes on the field and just does exactly what he did before he broke his leg? This is his leg, right? Whatever he broke. Look, what if he just comes back and does the thing? And people are right back in where he is a top 12 wide receiver. If that happens, there ain't no way I'm sending that away for Corum a 2nd and Theo Johnson. But right here, right now, especially if you're on a team where you just need to split assets, get stuff, Corum a 2nd and Theo, I can see you be able to do stuff with that for sure. It just seems like there's always whether it be a Houston Texans fan or a Stroud lover, just someone likes Tank Dell in your leagues. It just feels like you might have been able to squeeze here. But I'm also assuming if Dell's your wide receiver 6, Leggett's at 301. Again, we saw the 4 quarterbacks go above the wide receivers in the draft. Like, it just seems like maybe your league doesn't value wide receiver as highly. So getting into Blake Corum, Theo Johnson, and getting a 2nd back might not be that bad of a deal at all. So I think that's a pretty fair deal, and it looks like you did it with a plan. So I'll give you the edge there for having the plan and doing it. Dell's the best piece in the deal, and he probably has the most, I'll say, upside of like asymmetrical upside, where it could absolutely go binoculars. That's not the word. Bananas. Go bananas. But I'll take the 3 for 1, and sure, I'll figure it out with Corum a 2nd and a 3rd. But for me personally, I'll figure out. Like, I'll have bigger problems if Dell is my wide receiver 6. I'll have bigger problems down the line. Baby Lions, a 12 by 10 Superflex PPR. Let's see, does that get any bigger? No, it doesn't. We got Deontay Johnson and Brian Thomas Jr. being acquired for Zay Flowers at a 25-second. Okay, so let's do the Delta game. 12 by 10 Superflex PPR. Nothing else really. No context. No nothing. So Brian Thomas Jr. and Zay Flowers. What's the difference? One's a year ahead. Both are in kind of offenses that I like. Right, but I just feel like that's like, I'll give the edge to Zay for already doing it in the NFL for a year, but it's more or less a cross off for me. And if you're telling me Deontay Johnson or a random 2nd, the way that I Dynasty, I'm going to take Deontay Johnson. The only way I might be any different on that is if you're sending away your wide receiver 7 and 8, Brian Thomas Jr. and Theo Johnson, and get into Zay Flowers in a 2nd. And you're convicted on Zay Flowers. I like the Deontay and Brian Thomas Jr. side. I feel like you remain as flexible with the Brian Thomas as you do with Zay Flowers, if not more, honestly. And yeah, you give away the 2nd, but you move into Deontay. So I would. This is a ideal deal on our team where if Thomas Jr., Deontay, they're like your wide receiver 3-4, right? Even 2-3. Like you're thin at wide receiver. Not only do you stay young, but you got the production. So I like that a lot. That's a really nice deal. Good work. Blue Smurf. Here we go. That's a new name for me. We got 10 teams. Start 10. PPR. Was borderline contender, but adding Debo as your wide receiver 3 with CD and DK should hopefully make me a clear contender. Okay. So you sent away Jordan Addison and a 2025 second, and you got into to Deebo Samuel. Okay. So 10 team, start 10, shallow league. Typically, you're going to want to be on the consolidation side of these 2-for-1 bets. And I don't care about depth at all. Everyone in a start 10 should have a decent team, or a 10-team start 10, but the 10-team piece of it. Everyone should have a good team. There might be one team that's fully committed to tanking and one team that's neglected, but most people should have a good team. So you have to have difference makers and really make bets and be convicted to have success in these leagues. You have CED, you have DK, you're getting into Deebo. I definitely agree that, Deebo should outscore Jordan Addison. And especially if you need those starts early season, spending a second to do it, I get it. Just the part of my heart that tugs here is that this is like your dictionary definition of a process deal, where you send the wide receiver that can be like 70% of the receiver, and then you get the liquid second back. If this was like a player's worth of a second, like let's say that's Blake Corum, let's say it's even it could be James Conner, right? Like anyone who you could plug in instead of that second, I'd feel a lot better about it, because I still don't want us just send away my capital, even in a shallow league. But if you're right, you're going to be very right, because Deebo's that guy. And once again, back to the San Francisco conversation, if Aiyuk does pack his bags and go, what does that mean for Deebo? Probably a lot. Will he sustain that volume? We'll see, right? But I'll just bet that Deebo is going to be the hammer until he's hurt or not. So at a 10 by 10, I get it. Again, typically if I have like an Addison in a second, I'd like to try to climb higher up the ladder. But I'm assuming, just if I'm reading here, I'm assuming that you have already tried and you're just going down the ladder and Deebo is where you've ended up at. It's not the first offer you went to, but yeah, it's fine. It's probably fair. If I'm trying to split assets, I'm taking Addison in a second. But if you're saying this is the move that's going to put me over the top, okay, let's get Deebo. But if I'm hesitant at all, if I'm not sure, if I'm trying to take the 55 to 45 side of the bet, give me Addison in a second. I'm not too scared off on the legal stuff until it's here and Addison and all that. So if things happen down the line for Addison, sure. If you just want to get off the knucklehead and pay the knucklehead tax of sending a second to do it, okay, sure. But it's a fine deal. It's a process deal for sure, and I definitely understand why someone would want Addison in a second, but you have a clear why for your Deebo. So good luck there, Blue Smurf. Matty Boy 6. We had a 12-team start 11, super flex, tiered PPR. So wide receivers get 1, running backs get 1.5, and tight ends get 2.0. And it's also a 0.2 point per carry. Okay. So boosted scoring, good point per carry, tiered PPR. I like it. Had the choice of Moss and Brown slated for the final spot in your lineup. Figured in this format, Singletary is the better play due to volume. It helps me not have to choose who to play every single week out of that backfield. So you sent away Chase Brown and Odell Beckham Jr., and you got into Evan Hall and Devin Singletary. Yeah. So people like their Chase Brown. Hey, he's been a little bit of a darling. He's like an ideal best ball guy where he gets the ball and he could take it to the house. He's efficient. He's flashy. People like him. People like it. That's some Chase Brown. I agree, especially early season. Devin Singletary is probably going to outscore Chase Brown. And if you have a team where you need those starts now, if you need those points now, and you're willing to trade away some of that hope to get it done, I like the idea of getting into Devin Singletary. What I don't like is the idea of that New York Giants offense and team, right? And really making that bet that he will be something week over week over week over week over week over week over week. If Chase Brown twists an ankle, his value is not really going to go anywhere. If Singletary twists an ankle, people are going to be sending him for anything, for fab. Right? Maybe not that bad, but you get the sentiment, right? Like one is a falling knife asset and one has a chance to ascend a bit more. Odell Beckham Jr. in a 12 by 11 non-best ball league in a tiered PPR where wide receivers are devalued there. Not really anything in the deal for me, but if you can get any credit in the deal for Odell, cool. Evan Hall, I like him. Any running back on a 53, plug him in, sure. You'll know when to start him. He's probably a great back-end roster piece. Just put him there. You just hope you don't have to make any cuts. So, I mean, if I'm playing the format, 1-5 running back, catches, just knowing, especially, like, maybe this is my takeaway is I don't need to have it all figured out week one. And trying to make these earth-shaking bets based on what I bet week one's depth chart is going to be, it hasn't been repeatable for me in Dynasty, and it's something I don't like to do. So, yeah, right now we expect Singletary to out-volume Chase Brown, and especially early season. And you can make that bet for sure. Just in the format, I'm going to bet someone's really going to like Chase Brown. They're really going to want him. The question is, can I sell Chase Brown for more than Evan Hall and Devin Singletary? Because Odell doesn't really add much to the deal for me. So I think it's a good deal. I think it is. I get your side, and I have a lot of Singletary in Dynasty. Don't get me wrong. I have a lot of it. So I'm making the same bet that you are. But people like their Chase Brown. And in deals like this, especially around this time of year, I want the thing that people want. So give me Chase Brown, but I'm not holding on to that Chase Brown. I'm doing exactly what you did, where you're trying to find a deal to feel better about your flex. But maybe I can do that in a way that I get like a liquid pick back. Right? So like a Josh Palmer in a second. Can you squeeze that? Can you throw something back like an Odell Beckham Jr. with Chase Brown and get like Josh Palmer in a second? I would love that a lot more. But regardless, I like it. It's going to move your team forward, and you get a nice little piece in Hall there. So good work, Matty boy. Baby Lions back again. Superflex PPR 0.25 tight end premium. We got Chris Godwin, Jaden Daniels, and a 2025 first being acquired for T. Higgins, JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Rome Odunze, and you can't forget about that $1 fab. Well. This is interesting. So Jaden Daniels a first, Chris Godwin, T. Higgins, JSN, Odunze, 12 by 10 Superflex PPR, no tight ends involved. So best piece in the deal, Jaden Daniels. And then I'm going to hazard a guess, and again, you can cross the 2025 first off, probably with JSN the easiest, but the next three best assets from a point scoring perspective, Rome Odunze, JSN, and T. Higgins, right? Like not in that, whatever order you want to rank them, probably Odunze first for dynasty value, probably Higgins first for production value, but you got a lot of hopium on that side of the deal. And, each of those wide receivers, you can make a case for getting at least a first. Odunze, people really like him, and he's going to be like the anchor to your deal. But you gave up a first to get one of them. So that's not you, Baby Lions, but Gnomes 07. You sent away a first to get one of those guys. So, okay. You also sent away Chris Godwin, who, yes, he is not young. Not a youngster, not a teenager. But he's probably going to score points, and he'll probably outscore Rome Odunze in a busy offense. He'll probably score, if not similar, or outscore JSN in a pretty kind of busy offense. T. Higgins, yeah, sure, T. Higgins might outproduce him, but T. Higgins might also get hurt again, and Chris Godwin might also get hurt. So there's a lot of bets that are happening there. But there's also Jaden freaking Daniels, who can break fantasy with the way that he plays. Like his game is set up to score fantasy points. Not that that's what he plays football for, but we love it for our game. And you get a liquid first for one of those wide receivers. And you're not trading out. Like Odunze is really the hook of the deal and how you value Odunze. And I'm okay for people who want to take the long side, upside bet on Odunze and bet that he will be an elite difference maker. But it kind of feels like you made that bet last year with JSN as well, and you sent both of them the same deal. It's kind of funny. We get Jaden Daniels a first and Godwin. Come on. Yeah, I like this for you, baby Lions. Romo Dunze and T. Higgins. Does that get you Jaden Daniels? It might because of the Odunze factor. So even if you want to call it Odunze and Higgins for Daniels and Godwin, I'm still taking the 25 first over JSN. So I feel like even if you're just tossing in Godwin just for good luck, I'll still take Daniels the first and Godwin side. Bet that I can find the positional difference maker at the scarce position versus trade into just a very flat range of hopium wide receivers. So I like it, baby Lions. Again, if Odunze pops off and is a top 6 wide receiver, you're going to kick yourself maybe. But if Jaden Daniels is Jaden Daniels and the first is random and you do what you can with Godwin, you're going to be just fine. Good work. Big Diaz. Okay. We got best ball. 12 team starts, 10 Superflex PPR, 1 tight end premium, 26-man rosters. Y'all, this is just the 49ers episode, huh? More Aiyuk buzz liquidation. Big Diaz sent away that Ricky Pearsall. He got back a second, a third, a fourth, and 30 fab. Hey. And I don't know if you can see this. It looks like Diaz also plays with my guy from MySpace. I forget his name, but shouts out to MySpace. Yeah, hey, Ricky Steamboat, Ricky Pearsall. He could be he could be a good wide receiver in the San Francisco offense, which is efficient, high scoring. I like it if Pearsall can get the opportunity, but he's not there. And until Aiyuk's out the door, I'm just going to believe that Aiyuk is going to be a San Francisco 49er. You're getting a second, a third, a fourth, and 30 fab for a player who, in best ball, could be a 0 for a good chunk of the season. Again, Pearsall absolutely falls in the range of players who I like to roster in best ball and who could enter my lineup, I'd say maybe even 2, 3, 4 times in a year, you know? But it's the liquidity of it all. You're getting the second of a team not involved here. You're getting the third and fourth of the team you're sending Ricky to. And again, in best ball, those thirds and fourths, they are not nothing. And that it's about what you do with them for sure, but they're not nothing. And same goes for the 30 fab. In lineup, if that's your only experience with the free agent acquisition budget or fab, I get it. Like it's not that busy. It's like when can I push all my chips in for that one guy that's going to do it? Like that's how I play it in lineup, right? In best ball, fab is flexibility. Fab is everything. I would trade my fourths and thirds for fab for the right amount because I think fab is something that is very, very, very important in best ball. You can pick up guys that you want. There's probably more backup quarterbacks on waivers than they are in lineup leagues. And when the quarterbacks do go down, you're going to want those bucks to pay when you can. So Diaz, I like the flexibility this deal gives you. I'm assuming your team isn't make or break. It's not made or broken by Ricky Pearsall. So give me the second, third, and fourth, and 30 fab. Good work, big dog. I like it. Another one here. This is the big Diaz show now, isn't it? All right. 12-team Superflex Start 11, tiered PPR, RB 0.5, wide receiver 1.0, tight end 1.75, points for first down. There's points everywhere. You send away Roman Wilson, you're getting a third. Are we already sending away Roman for a third? Are we already here? I thought he'd at least get a shot to take some snaps. Damn. Well, I'll tell you what. Again, pinch me if you've heard this, but Aiyuk, he might get traded to Pittsburgh. So if that happens, what does that mean for Roman Wilson? It's probably not great because we already weren't counting on Roman Wilson to do a lot as is. Am I trading him away for a single third? In a lineup league, it might be right. It might be right. I just hope that you didn't spend a second to draft Roman Wilson just to trade him for a third before he's even taken a snap. You know, if you backed your way into Roman Wilson and you're just flipping that for a third, like, okay, I'm fine with that. But you just hate to be on the opposite side. Like, I don't want to have like a sunk cost fallacy in my mind, but we're talking about a third, right? So like at a certain point, it's like you have to be just making a decision. And then here we go. Once again, George Pickens for a first. George Pickens could be everything, or he could be a big monster as an increased target share this year and continues to do the things that score fantasy points. Great. I'm just going to bet that he doesn't do that at a difference-making level enough to make me not want the liquid first, even if it's late. So I like it, Diaz. Diaz, you got enough shine. You're sending away Ricky Pearsall. You're just taking advantage of people who are just tilted or scared on the Superflex or the San Francisco thing. So good work. And let's end on this. 12 teams, start 12. Superflex, 1 PPR, 6-point passing touchdown. Rumbero, he got himself into some Jalen Hurts. That man, probably my most owned player in Dynasty, Jalen Hurts. And he sent away Jared Goff, Chris Olave, and a 2025 first. Hooey. So if this is a 12-team start 9, if the 12-team start 10, I'm probably on the Hurts side. Just because, again, it's just consolidated into what matters, and Hurts will do it better than most assets in Dynasty. So I get it. In my leagues that are like that, again, Jared Goff, I can barely get a first for him. Olave, we need to be right on Olave for that to really work, right? Like, New Orleans can't hold him back, and everything I'm hearing is probably just going to be what we experienced last year. So I hope that Olave can find his way through and then really be, take a step forward in 2024. And you get a 2025 first, not your own, not this guy. So it's a random 25 first, we'll call it. Yeah, like I'll take Hurts there, but in a start 12, I think in a start 12, Goff should be worth a first. Olave is worth more than a first in that situation. And that another 25 first. You're getting 3+ liquid first in a start 12 for Jalen Hurts. I'm just going to take Goff, Olave, and a 25 first, the way that I play, right? Which is, if I have someone like a Hurts, I might have like a couple other guys, but I don't need to get a quarterback coming back with that Hurts either to really make it work. But if I am going to send away a Hurts, I would love to stay in a certain range of quarterback. And if I dip down to that Goff range, I'm going to need a wide receiver who could be considered a lead and get there. And I need a liquid first for sure. So this meets the requirements for me, especially in a start 12. That makes it easier to do because I just need volume, I need pieces, I need stuff. I feel like Goff will still give you plus replacement level production at quarterback. He's going to give you more than what the replacement level guy will give you. I feel like Olave is going to do the same thing at probably a better level at wide receiver, but still probably fall in that flat range. But I just hope that he can have some bigger weeks. And then the 25 first. The teams that I don't do the Goff, Olave, and a first side on are my super contenders, right? Where Olave is not in my lineup. He's my wide receiver. This is where you have that Tank Dell problem, right? He's my wide receiver 6, 7, 8. And I start 12. I still like having even those Olaves, but if you're just flush at wide receiver, sure. If you have like if you have a team that's ready to go and you need a quarterback that's the crown jewel, yeah, I can talk myself into Hurts for sure. It just feels like a lot to give up the way that I like to play. And neither of the three assets on the other side are dead-end assets, in my opinion. Goff is still there. He just got a contract, right? You got a contract, right? I think you did. Olave, people still like Olave. I'll just hope that Shane's in your league and you can send him that Olave. I know he still loves him deep down, but I bet he likes Hurts a little more. So I like the deal. It's probably the deal that's what needs to happen if you're going to get on a Hurts. Like, that's the kind of deal it's going to take. If it's a start 10, I want Hurts. In the start 12, 6-point passing touchdown, full PPR. Give me Goff, Olave in the first. Oh, wow. I just punched my microphone as a way to end the show. You love to see it. Thanks for sticking around. Again, shout out to everyone out in Canton, Ohio. Hope you're having a great time. Hope you enjoy the community, just everything that this space has to offer. I'll be there eventually. Hey, if you like the show, patreon.com/ALLGAS. Get in here and get your trades on the show. Head on over to the trade show tab, drop them in there, put the format, put your photo, make the photo big so it looks nice on the show for sure. That helps. DestinationDebbie.com for all the tools, articles, and everything happening over there. Underdog, it's a little late, but hey, you might be able to still max out some entries here. Head on over there, get up to $250 deposit bonus and your special pick when you use code ALLGAS at first sign up at Underdog Fantasy. That's it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like, hit subscribe. Let me know in the comments, what are you doing at the San Francisco wide receiver room? What are you doing with George Pickens? Right? Like the Pittsburgh, the San Francisco, that's the market mover right now. So if you have those deals, send them out right now. If you hit the like enough, I might be able to get that light fixed as well. I don't know what's happening here, but we're falling apart on a solo show. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Take care. We out of this thing. Peace.